Call it Pop Bubba Sparks.
Booty, 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 rockin' everywhere. Booty, booty.
Hey, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
So you guys, let's talk about the hard part when it comes to phlebotomy. I feel as if with phlebotomy, it's a lot that you need to know as far as for what you're going to be dealing with, the type of patients you're going to be dealing with. So I figured this will be a good video. For the most part, drawing blood from patients that's terrified is always a big worry to me sometimes, because you never know how a patient is going to react. Most people react differently when it comes to needles and stuff like that, but you also have people, even grown folks, that's like really scared of needles. So it's like you never know what they expect when dealing with them. You can feel when they're terrified. That's one thing I can say when it comes to phlebotomy. You can feel when someone is terrified when you're about to get that needle stick from them. So I feel like that can sometimes be the hardest part when it comes to it, because you don't know how to deal with those type of things. One thing I can say that what I'll usually do is just try to like talk my way out of it. So I'll try to like talk to them, try to talk about their kids, try to talk about a family member, or even try to bring up a topic like, hey, so the fair's in town, are you going to take your family, or the holidays coming up, do you have anything planned? Even try to talk about what's their favorite genre or music or something like that, something to keep their mind off of this stick. So I feel like that helps all the time. But that can be one of the hardest parts when it comes to phlebotomy, because a lot of people are really terrified of needles, and you just gotta have your own technique when trying to deal with those type of things. The pay rate can also be another thing as well too that's hard to struggle with when it comes to phlebotomy, because most people don't know how to survive that much off of the salary. I feel as if, like, for the most part here in Florida, phlebotomists usually get paid at least around, like, to the most, depending on the type you're working at. So if you're working at a lab or something like that, you could probably get up to like 14 to 15 an hour. If you're working at a plasma center, it's mostly probably 10 to 12 an hour. You know, just those type of things. You blood blanks and stuff like that, 10 to 12 an hour. So those are the average parts, but it's just the fact of the job, the actual job of a phlebotomist. It requires a lot of doing, and I feel as if the pay doesn't really average of what you're doing. So that can sometimes be a hard part as well too. People with rolling veins, that's a major one as well too, because everybody veins is different. With some people, when I was a phlebotomist, with some people I could honestly look at their arm and tell, like, that's not going to be nothing, I can get that stick like that. But you do have people who have veins that's like visual for you to see, but then when you put the tourniquet on and you insert the needle, you might see that little dash of blood, and the next thing you know, it just stops. So that comes to the part where people have rolling veins. You can't really help that fact. It's just the fact of the matter. But however, that can be something hard for most people. You got to learn how to like deal with those type of patients whenever they're dealing with rolling veins. Now, one thing I can say about with phlebotomy, I only like to stick the patient 2 times, to the most 1. You really want to just try to stick them 1 time and get it over with, because I don't like to get stuck twice, so I know other people wouldn't like to get stuck twice. But however, if you feel as if you can't really get that needle stick, just pass it on to someone who can, because you make the patient really frustrated when you just got to keep trying. And after a while, you know, they get tired of that type of stuff. So you'll be lucky if somebody lets you stick them 3 times, but for the most, you want to try to keep it at 2. And if you can already kind of tell a patient has rolling veins or small veins where you can't really see it, I will get a phlebotomist that knows what they're doing, so the patient doesn't have to get stuck twice. That could just sometimes prevent needle sticks or accidental miss with the needle and stuff like that. So just pay attention to those type of things. I never had the experience with this, but handling kids when drawing blood is a major one as well too. I looked this up actually online, that most people who usually works in pediatric, they have a hard time drawing blood from kids. Now, I haven't had my experience with pediatric. I have had my experience with family practice and OBGYN and pain management, but I would like to get my experience with pediatric. The only 2 things I don't like about it is that kids, one is, I love kids, but it's just when it comes to medical, I'm so serious about medical, so I feel like that's not like a playing field. But it's about controlling them. That's the only thing I would say that would be the hardest part for me, is controlling them. And also 2 is making sure that they stay focused, because kids like to move around so much. You got to keep them entertained. So those are the type of things that I would look at when handling when trying to draw blood from them. I haven't had my experience with that, so I can't really say much, but that's one of the main hardest parts too. If you do, you know, decide to go into the field for phlebotomy and you're wondering how it's like for drawing blood from kids, so that's usually how that goes. Keeping up with the order of draw is something hard as well too, because with the order of draw is constantly changing. In the medical field, you have to make sure you keep up with the tubes and everything like that. So with the order of draw, I definitely feel like that's a major one. You just want to make sure that you have a great understanding of the meaning of the tube, what it's used for. But every time in the medical field, everything is always changing. So a certain color could mean a different meaning now than what it did 2 years ago or something like that. So keeping up with the order of draw for phlebotomy can be hard. You just want to make sure that you have an understanding of which tube is going to be used for which color is going to be used for which. So that's what I would do. But for the most part, these are the top ones that I noticed so far is the hardest part when it comes to phlebotomy. Do correct me if I'm wrong, but when working in the experience, those are what I pretty much experienced, and also looking up some of the issues online, that's what I noticed as well too. So don't forget to like this video and comment below and let me know what you think. Peace, y'all.